Welcome to Getting to Know Chronicle. I'm John Stoner, a member of the Adoption Engineering team at Google Cloud, and today we're going to talk about adding arrays to our Outcomes section in YARA-L. In this video, we're going to cover two aggregation functions that are often used with strings in the Outcomes section, array and array distinct. Remember, it's important to understand that when working with multiple events in a rule, that all outcome variables that contain UDM fields must have an aggregation associated with them. The syntax we'll be using is the outcome variable equals array or array distinct, followed by the UDM field or a placeholder variable inside parentheses. Finally, it's worth mentioning that arrays are truncated after 25 elements, but when using array underscore distinct, all deduplication will take place before the truncation occurs. To me, this makes array distinct my go-to aggregation for strings. Now that you know a little bit more about arrays in Outcomes, let's revisit our password spray rule and refine it further by adding additional outcome variables to it. If you recall, our current rule identifies Microsoft user login events with a block action, as you can see in the event section. We're grouping our detections by the match variable hostname over a 30-minute window, and we have a condition that says we need to have more than 10 unique user IDs within that window to trigger. When we introduced count and count distinct, we added these outcome variables and our two constants to the rule. In our test rule, we can see that we have counts of the number of events that were part of the detection as well as the count of the unique user IDs attempted. But what if we wanted to see a listing of the user IDs? We could expand the detection to see the user IDs in each event, but if we're going to use this information elsewhere, it would be nice to have a listing. Let's add outcome variables for both array and array distinct to our rule. Notice how we can use UDM fields or placeholder variables in our outcomes. When we run our test rule and add our two new columns, we can see that the array distinct variable contains a listing of 13 user IDs, which align to our distinct count of 13. Our array, on the other hand, contains 25 user IDs that have duplicate IDs in them. Clearly, with all of the events rolled up into this detection, we don't have all the user IDs shown here. Array is a fine function to have, but in most scenarios, you will likely find that array distinct is what you want to use because it distills the relevant users, assets, or other field values down and removes duplicates. Much like we did with the single event rule for Who Am I, let's take a quick look at a version of this rule with outcome variables built out, including the distinct array of user IDs. If we view this in our alert graph, we can see each one of these user IDs in the rule and its association to the detection. Array and array distinct are just two of the aggregate functions that can be used in the Outcomes section. Remember that all events values must be aggregated in rules that contain multiple values. To use these aggregate functions, they follow a common syntax. The outcome variable equals the aggregate function like array or array distinct, followed by parentheses with either the UDM event field with the event variable or the placeholder variable inside of it. Finally, 25 elements is the maximum stored in an array. I found that the array distinct is my go-to aggregation because it performs a deduplication prior to applying that truncation, so I can see just unique values in my outcome variables. If you want to learn more about Chronicle, check out my blog series called New to Chronicle for more handy tips. We have a number of community YARA-L detections at our GitHub site and are continually adding more. And don't forget to engage the security community at googlecloudcommunity.com. Thanks.